take us back to the beginning? How did you discover your passion for music?
Yeah, so just growing up, I was never really a music guy. I always did sports and outdoors, so I was really just very focused on I just like to be outside. Um, but it was two things that kind of started that. I went to a John Bellion concert with some of my friends, and like seeing him perform, I had never been to a concert before, and it was just like literally the coolest thing ever. I look up to John Bellion a lot and think he's an amazing artist, and so that was really cool for me. And then just shortly after, just right before COVID hit, my friend asked me to sing in his little band for this Battle of the Bands competition he was in. And originally I was just gonna play the piano, but the singer backed out last second. So I was asked just to try it. And it was something like I had literally never even tried to sing well. But I gave it a go, and something just was there. It just clicked, and it was like I had been missing it my whole life, and it was just there. Like it was amazing. And yeah, it was a great experience. And for me, like, performing is what I love. I love being with people. And so that was a great way to like kind of kick that off.
When you look at your career and your craft, who or what's had the biggest influence, either personally or professionally?
Oof. Probably my best friend, Eric. So I have four sisters and he has five sisters. We grew up together. We met when we were 6 months old. I mean, like, he's just like my day one, my brother. And he actually, he's always loved music. He listens to it constantly. And so really, like, I wouldn't have even figured it out if it weren't for him asking me to try singing. And so he's kind of like the reason I'm doing all of this. It started because of Eric. So yeah.
Yeah, you've got a new single out. Can you tell us about Ghost Town and the inspiration behind the song?
Yeah. So Ghost Town is the first song that I ever wrote. It was my first session officially in LA just a couple months ago. And when I wrote it, I was kind of in the middle of a lot of things. I had just packed up my stuff and moved to Vegas, like, on the fly. Yeah, I had stepped off American Idol. It was like I was moving away from my family and friends, and my life was really changing. And so Ghost Town, there is part of it that's about my friend's relationship, but a lot of it is me developing my emotional maturity. And it's like I'm moving away from my childhood and everything that I know, and I'm starting something new. And I kind of have to let go of what I had before, and just realize that that's what's going to be best for me. And so that's kind of what Ghost Town is. It's like it's a reflection of kind of what I was going through mentally, just like in that stage. And it wasn't bad at all. It was just, it was a lot different than anything I'd ever experienced. So
Speaking of American Idol, you were an early front runner. How difficult was that decision to leave the competition?
it was very hard. I I was asked to be on the show, like asked to audition, and in that time I was like so excited. Like it sounded like such a cool opportunity, and so I obviously took it. But I never really thought about like myself and my career. And so once I was in the show, I realized I didn't really know exactly who I wanted to be as an artist, and who I wanted, like what kind of music I wanted people to hear from me. And so that's kind of when I just took some time for myself to think about what's really best for me. And it was really hard to step down from that position, because it's a lot of upfront publicity, and I mean it's a fantastic show, and all the contestants are super nice. But my parents, I have great parents, and they just taught me to always do what's going to be best for me in the long run. And so I just decided to step down, because that's what I thought was best for me. So it was definitely very difficult, but it had to be done.
And like you were saying earlier, you didn't start singing until pretty recently. What has that response meant to you to see, the streams that you have on your debut single?
Well, to me, it's just a reflection in that, like, no matter how long you've been doing something, the passion, it's all about the passion. Like for me, although this isn't like my whole life's dream, it is like the last 2 years of my life. It's a dream from there. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like something that, you're like everyone else. Like I'm not like everyone else that grew up singing and started when they were two and has been performing and doing little gigs. And like I'm not the typical singer. I just picked it up, but it's something that I absolutely love. And so to me, I think if you really want something and you work hard enough to get there, that like it's possible. And so like Ghost Town, I mean, the marketing was not at all easy, like in no way. I mean, it was a lot of work and a lot of thinking and a lot of planning, a lot of late nights and early mornings, and but it paid off because this is what I love and this is what I want to do. So
Yeah, what was that process like deciding what would be your debut single? I'm assuming you've written tons at this point. What was that process like?
yeah, well, it was kind of right at the beginning stage of my writing. So I've only actually been writing for about 6 months now. Um, and Ghost Town obviously was one of those first ones that I wrote. And for me, a lot of times the newest or like the earliest things you write, like in a writing session, the melodies that you just think of at the top of your head at the beginning of the session sometimes are the best things that you write. And I think it's just like songs, like some of the first things that I've ever written are probably some of the best things that I will write as I develop. And so Ghost Town is just one of the things that it's so innocent to my personality. It's like, it's just me very much expressing myself.
Has anything surprised you in the last 2 years as you embark on this exciting chapter and point in your career? Has anything surprised you? What's been the biggest lesson you've learned about your craft?
Um, Probably the most surprising thing is having the opportunity to work with Dan Reynolds. And that being said, he is, I mean, first of all, just an amazing human being. And he cares so much about everyone. And one of the things that he's taught me that's the most important is do what makes you the happiest and do what you want to do. I think the most important thing, just like the best thing that I've learned in the past couple of months, is just that no matter what makes you happiest is what's going to work best for you in the long run. So, but yeah, working with Dan is like definitely the craziest thing for me.
And as we look ahead to the rest of 2021 into 2022, what can fans expect from you?
Really, right now, I'm focusing a lot on just kind of fine tuning like the artist that I'm trying to be, and so it's a lot of writing right now and just getting a lot of songs ready. Um, but yeah, I mean, you can definitely expect a lot more than one song from me, but that's really all I know at this point. So,
Yeah, what do you hope to say as an artist? What do you hope listeners take away when they listen to Ghost Town?
um, really, I really hope that people can understand that I'm putting myself out there. Like I want them to be like, wow, I understand a part of Benson Boone, and like I love it, and that's what I want to see. Because I mean, I drew my own artwork and I wrote the song and I'm doing the marketing. Like it's very much personal to me. And that being said, like when I do videos on TikTok or when I post on Instagram, like I'm doing it so people can understand me, not just my music. Because something I love when I listen to music is like people like Adele and Sam Smith and John Bellion. They're putting their hearts and souls into the song, and it's like you connect with them, and that's what I want people to do with my music.
Great answer. And then we just like to end all of our interviews with a pop culture lightning round. Is there a band or artist that fans would be surprised to learn is on your playlist?
Oh, that's a really good question. What probably one of my favorite artists is Stevie Wonder. He's like he's been one of my all-time favorites for a while. So I'm not really sure like what would be the most surprising, but Stevie Wonder is definitely like one of my top choices.
What about the first album you ever bought or streamed?
It was probably Adele's first album. Because really, I don't know. I've always been like really into soul music, and so I didn't really even start listening a lot to music until just a couple years ago. And Adele is like one of the first people that I really got into.
Uh,
So
what what about the first concert you ever attended?
that was the John Bellion concert, and that was like the coolest thing ever to me. I mean, he is an amazing performer, so that was definitely a very motivating experience.
What about an album that changed your life and why?
Yeah, Louis Capaldi is one of my favorite artists. But he released his album like 2 years ago, and that's kind of right when I was starting to get in to music, and so he's like really one of my biggest. Him and John Bellion are like my biggest inspirations of music. And when I listen to Louis Capaldi, it's just like I said, like he has, to me, he's like the male Adele. He has such a unique voice, and when you hear him, you automatically know it's him. But every song he writes is just a banger, and yeah, he puts a lot out there and a lot into his music. And so he like definitely, definitely that album like totally changed my perspective on music.
What about a venue that's on your bucket list to perform at?
Madison Square Garden for sure, 100%. That is my biggest goal.
And
So
then final question for you: when you're on the road or when you're gonna go on the road, what's a must have?
this is okay. This is something that's just pretty recently like an idea of something that I would love. Um, so the producer's name's JT that I did Ghost Town with. Uh, he used to tour. He was on tour for like years and years, and he said one of his favorite things to do was just like after a concert day, he would just take a break and ride his motorcycle like just for a couple hours. I've always loved dirt bikes and four-wheelers and motorcycles, and so I think that'd be sick to do, is just have a motorcycle that after I perform, after a day of performing, just relax and just ride the bike out there.